To put context to my story, I was having a sleepover at my best friend's house in the summer of 2019, like we always did. We were 15 at the time. She lives in a small village where everybody knows everyone. There was no weird people. It was a super safe place. Everyone was kind and friendly. It was about 10 p.m. and it was really dark outside. We were hungry and wanted baked cookies, but they didn't have the ingredients to do it, so we decided to go to the nearest convenience store. It was about a 5-minute walk in the dark because there was no street light. We started walking towards the store, talking and laughing about literally anything. On one side of the road, there was a huge church built at the end of the 1800s. It was abandoned, but they couldn't destroy it because it was historical. There was also a huge parking lot right in front of it that had a small orange light. On the other side of the road, the store we had to go into. When we passed on the sidewalk in front of the church, we heard a strange classical music playing. It was like a whisper. We turned our eyes to the parking lot, and there he was. I have goosebumps just thinking about it. There was no cars on the road. Nobody was outside. It was cold and dark. We saw a man, really tall and disgusting. His clothes were ripped, and he looked like he hadn't showered in months. He was dancing in the church parking lot, doing ballet figures to a classical song at 10 p.m. on a random summer night. When we saw him, we immediately changed sidewalks to be farther from him. Our hearts were racing as we entered the store. We got our thing and went to the cashier. She made us pay, and we were panicked, so we told her about the man dancing in the parking lot. She was confused and went to the window to look, but there was no one there. We were even more scared when we got outside. Neither of us had cell phones, so we couldn't call her dad to pick us up. We took a deep breath and decided to pass by the neighborhood that was behind the convenience store instead of the main road, so we would have less of a chance of seeing the man. We started walking in the dark on the small roads with our bags. We were always looking around us. Once we reached the main street, we almost had a heart attack. The man was there, dancing on the sidewalk in front of her house. We were panicking. I started crying quietly. My friend mentioned that she knew some people in the area that lived nearby, so we went to their house. They didn't believe us at first and didn't want us to walk to their house. It was almost 11 and he looked tired, but I think he changed his mind because he saw us crying. So he put on his shoes and we started making our way back to the main street. We told him what had happened as we arrived to the sidewalk and there was nobody. The man was nowhere to be found. He walked us to our front door and we thanked him while entering our house, and we locked the door behind us. We told our parents everything and they just laughed at us, saying we're being overdramatic, and that this is one of the safest villages and that we probably saw the wrong thing. We're both 19 now, and we still have no idea what happened that night, but we stopped going out after dark. We talk sometimes, and neither of us can explain what had happened. This incident occurred back in late 2021. I was currently serving in the military, stationed in California, and I lived off the base at the time. It was around 9 p.m. when I was driving home from work. I pulled into my apartment parking garage, and I noticed a guy I've never seen before and knew he did not live here. Just standing there, leaning against one of the support columns, just staring through the windshield. I tried to gauge what his intentions were by giving him the old Midwest, "Hey," by raising my fingers over my steering wheel. I got nothing, just a blank stare right at me. At this moment, I knew something wasn't right. I tried to weigh my options in my head. I can awkwardly back out of this very small parking garage and do a few laps around the neighborhood. I could call my roommate and tell him to come down, strength in numbers, you know. Or I can be the tough, brave military man. I decided to stop overthinking it and just deal with it on my own. I backed into my parking space all the while this guy was directly across from me, staring right at me. I again do the Midwest finger wave over the steering wheel with zero reaction from this guy. I grit my teeth and get out of the car and start walking towards the staircase up to my apartment, which he is standing directly in front of. So I obviously have to walk right past him. I start approaching and say, "Hey, how's it going?" just to gauge his friendliness one more time, and got absolutely nothing. So at this point I'm thinking I'm either going to get stabbed in the neck or shot in the back of the head when I pass him, but nothing happened. I realized I was just overthinking it, and began walking up the stairs to my apartment. I get about a quarter way up the stairs when I hear running behind me. I started to run up the stairs, skipping a few steps, and I completely eat it, cutting my hands and bleeding, but at this point I didn't care at all. I got up and kept going up the stairs and got to my door. This scene was honestly straight out of a horror movie. Me trying to get my key in the door, when I turn and see him running up the stairs. It honestly feels like it was all in slow motion. I thankfully got the key in and was able to get inside the house, but my motor skills were not all there at this point. So I was struggling to lock the door. I braced it with my foot while he tried getting in, and I was able to lock it. He started messing with the door handle and banging on the door while I went and woke up my roommate. I grabbed my gun from the bedroom, and we both sat in the living room waiting. After about a minute of this, we decided to call 911 and had about 3 minutes and 10 squad cars pulled up and searched the whole area. The guy was nowhere to be found. While finishing my contract in California, I was paranoid every time I went to my garage. I still don't know what his intentions were to this day, and that's honestly the part that irks me the most. So this all starts when me and my two buddies, me 19 and them 20 and 17, went to go fish off this bank of the river in the evening. The layout is that you drive over a levee before you drop down into a boat ramp / parking area right next to the river. We brought pizza, beer, weed, music, and of course our rods, hoping we'd get to hang out and do some late night fishing. At this point we're all set up on the bank with our chairs and speaker, having a nice evening, and it's probably been 2 hours. It's about 9 p.m. now. All three of us were feeling good with some beers in our system, and then all of a sudden we hear 2 cars with super loud music pull up. Everyone gets out. The cars must have had 4 or 5 people in each one, because I heard a lot of people talking, but it was all in Spanish, so I couldn't make anything out. We tried to ignore it, but it gets so loud that we couldn't enjoy ourselves anymore. So we start packing our stuff and head back to the car while we sober up. While we're gathering our things, we start to hear what sounds like an argument go down. We start to hear lots of glass shattering and people screaming at the top of their lungs. They couldn't see us, but they were basically no more than 20 feet behind our heads. At this point, we're just keeping quiet when we start to hear what sounds like someone getting repeatedly punched, and then a loud splash come from the boat ramp. And then someone says, "Nah, leave him," which is the only words in English spoken. At this point, we didn't know what we just heard happen, and we didn't want to stick around to find out. The 3 of us trekked back up the steep incline to get back to the car. As soon as we came into their view, they all got back into their 2 cars and quickly sped back over the levee. Except we spotted one of these cars just sitting on top of the levee, slowly creeping forward. When we turned our car on, that car went fully over the levee. We realized we were the only car left in the parking lot, which was now pitch black outside at around 9:30 p.m. We sat there for no more than 30 seconds just trying to process what we heard go down, and then we decided we need to get out of there completely to park somewhere to sober up all the way. As we're going over the levee, the road goes over it and then down and makes a sharp left. Right after we take that sharp left, our hearts drop when we see 4 cars lined up completely horizontal across the road, blocking us from getting through. There's orchards on our left and right, so there was no going around at all. At this point, my buddy just gassed straight towards their bumpers to try and split the difference between the cars, even if it meant damaging the front of his car. Just as we do that, one of the 4 cars slightly moved out of the way, creating a gap. We flew right through the gap and got out of there, laying on the horn while we passed through. We don't know what their intentions were, but clearly there were 2 cars on that boat ramp area and 2 cars on the other side of the levee, blocking people from coming in. I ended up filing a police report, just in case they really did dump a body into the river. It happens all the time here. But I haven't heard anything back. Definitely one of my most terrifying experiences. So to the 4 cars that may or may not have robbed us or killed us, let's not meet again. If you liked the video, remember to like and subscribe. And remember, watch your back. Toodaloo.